This programme is brought to you by vinny.co.uk.
Welcome back to the Champions League pool here on Free Sports. Stephen Jameson, Simon Webb still with you for the remainder of tonight. We've seen two matches. We've had a look at all four of our players now, and it's now time to turn to our two defeated players. First up, who will now play off against each other for a bit of an eliminator. This is really winner takes all, isn't it? Or at least loser takes nothing, because whoever doesn't win this match is de facto out of the competition.
Yeah, really important to try and get some points out of this match, to keep yourself in the group, at least take it as deep as possible. I think it's fair to say both Tony and Karl will be disappointed with how they played in their first match, but opportunity to put that right here.
Yeah, those odds were taken at the start of the night. We don't have the rolling live odds, as it were. I think they'd probably change a little bit if a player went on a bit of a hot streak for the first couple of games, but Tony Blount again feature this of his first match. Really good spreads and splits from the break. Again, it's come up dry. Karl Sutton here with a decent chance, particularly if these two Reds plan, and they do.
Red balls in play.
That now means these Reds are sitting ducks, really.
Although he hasn't landed perfectly on the next red. You can see he just looks a little bit rushed at the times. He has to come up with a better shot here than he wanted to. Can't quite cut the one in nearest the bottom right-hand corner. Nothing open to the top, so this probably is going to be this thin cut.
Extension called?
Yeah, he's called extension. Wasn't happy with how much he was rushing that shot. He now gets an extra 20 seconds to think about it. Players get one a match. And he had to really pinch the pocket there to try and hold the white. So much in danger there of heading right up the table and going in off on this cut. So he had to stab into it and try and pot it as thick into that pocket as possible. And in doing so, he hands over the first opportunity to Tony Blount, who has to play safe.
He's slightly annoyed that's bounced away from the pocket. He was hoping to at least cover that top right-hand corner pocket. But he has done the second part of the shot well, which is to leave the cue ball in a good position. Nothing for Karl Sutton to go at. I say there's nothing to go out. I don't think these two Reds plant at the top of the table, so just be opening them up with a shot. Yeah, nicely done. Big shot here for Tony. If he doesn't hide the white, then Karl Sutton is going to have a great opportunity to take this opening frame, because all the Reds are now open.
Yeah, pressure now on Tony to deliver something, and that is some pot down the rail.
Oh, he's decided to pot his way out of trouble, and what a pot that is.
Some shot. He's going to have to play a few more in this frame if he's to come away with one on the board, but that's some way to start it.
Doesn't necessarily mean he has to go for the finish. That, taking on that first shot was more about the fact there was no safety options to go for, but he's still not in a good position to go for a finish here, so could be a safety or an attempted snooker coming up.
Yeah, I think the way those yellows have come out has probably twisted his arm there as well. This is now a much more even frame than it was, though. You've put money on Karl winning it, and Tony had nothing but that really tough pot down the rail. It's now a far fairer fight. Shot to nothing from Karl. If it goes in, he's quids in, but if he misses, he isn't leaving much. I think we might see something similar from Tony here. No, safe. Takes his yellow off the rail and ties up a yellow and a red. Might be some length in this frame just yet.
Yeah, I just wonder if the red nearest the cue ball slides into the right-hand centre pocket. No, it obviously didn't, because he's just played safe off it rather than trying to pot it.
There's a pot on here for Karl. For Tony, I should say. Middle of the table. And we've seen he's not afraid to go for them. Yeah, that's why. Backs his potting ability, and he should.
His problem remains, though, that yellow towards the top right-hand corner is a real problem. Cannot clear these up until you work out how you're going to deal with that ball. It would double to the top left if you can get the cue ball up somewhere towards it.
I think there's an element of Karl being fairly pleased that Tony's taking these on, because this is a nightmarishly tough clearance at this point.
Yeah, I think so. Sometimes you sit there and you think, well, you know, if you go for these and if you don't clear them up, I'm going to win the frame. If you do, then good luck to you, because you know your odds against. The odds are in Karl Sutton's favour here to get a good opportunity. But he's left the double, maybe a half a roll short. It might be perfect. Well, it probably is pretty good.
This double goes and he's on the next yellow. He's got a sniff. And that's how close he was. He's going to fluke it into the middle. Well, there's your answer. Amazing. And he's perfect on this next yellow down the rail.
Just needs to avoid, looks like if he screws straight back, the cue ball's going to be going close to the red in the middle of the table.
Extension called.
He's called his extension. You know, this is a big moment in the match, potentially.
He may have just a shade too much angle on this. We try to move it around the table. This is brilliant. What an effort.
Doesn't want to be behind that red. I think he's okay. He's got straight down on it, which tells me he is for 1-0. What a win.
Great.
What a brilliant clearance that was from Tony. Okay, he's very fortunate with this shot here. Just drops into the centre pocket, but the next shot he had to play there, having to create an angle to go around the table from an almost straight shot, was absolutely fantastic, and he does get the first frame on the board. As Stephen Jamieson has just popped out of the commentary box to get a few words with Craig Lakin.
I certainly have. Tony Blount on the boards in his first frame there. He did the same against you, Craig. Give you a bit of a scare in that first match?
Yeah, I managed to make a mistake and sneak myself, and Tony took him out well. Looks like he started the same against Karl. He took out a good finish. But yeah, fortunately I managed to get a few rolls and put a few finishes together, so I managed to get a win. That's the main thing.
Simon mentioned in commentary that you've said to us you're feeling a little bit rusty, haven't played too much in the last year or so. Is it nice to get a real match under your belt in these conditions? It
is, yeah, but I come out after and said to the organisers, I was like, I think it's the most nervous I've ever felt playing pool. It's like I'd never played before, so I think it done me a favour really, because it kept me a bit like, on my toes, and I played well, I thought. So.
Well, I was going to say, considering you felt like that, certainly some confident play from you. The final clearance, especially with a tough 8-ball to go and win it, was really punched in, played with a lot of positivity.
Yeah, I like to hit the balls with conviction. It makes me play a bit better, I think. Start not in them as well as I should be doing, then I kind of like end up missing balls, so I kind of punch everything and play with confidence. That's the way I like to play. So.
Play quick as well. Didn't get him out of there in much time.
No, I don't. I need about a 10-second shot clock to catch me out. 20's not enough. So.
Well, don't give them any ideas. Hey, congratulations on the win and best luck for the rest of the night.
Thank you, mate. Cheers.
Back to you, Si.
Well, just as we get that interview with Craig Lakin, there's going to be a bit of VAR action. The referee has asked to see this break again to see whether it is a legal break. Just to remind you, with international 8-ball rules, you do need a 4-point rule. So you do have to have either four balls go past the centre line or pot, combination of each.
Just one more time, please, Hans.
I think we need to see this one more time. I think this is okay, but need to see it again.
One, two, three, four. That's fine. Thank you.
That's a legal break,
Time
and
running.
the referee has made her decision, and I quite like to get a bit of action like that just to make sure we get the calls right as Stephen Jameson rejoins me.
Yeah, didn't miss much.
No, nothing at all.
Can you sort the score out, please, Hans?
One thing we can say is that the break from Karl was a bad one. It was dry, nearly a foul break, not fulfilling the 4-point rule, but the way he broke in the first match against David McNamara and the way he started so far, he is certainly not firing. Big opportunity here for Tony to really put him under pressure and get himself 2-0 in front.
And we talked to Craig Lakin there. He mentioned that he went 1-0 down to Tony initially. It's great opportunities for Tony Blount because he is here on a bit of a free hit, as it were. He comes in with next to no reputation compared to these three players. As a county level player, he's perfect, as we've seen, perfectly talented player. In terms of what he's done on bigger stages, not a name that many people are very familiar with. Comes here with that attitude, nothing to lose. Karl Sutton has plenty more to lose in this scenario than Tony Blount does, let me promise you that. And if Tony can get 2-0 in front here, this is going to put Karl under a lot of pressure. Has that red just covered the 8-ball into the corner? I think it might have. And that might just make this very difficult. Does it sneak by?
I think there's half a pocket. He's having a really good... If he was straight on this, I think he'd make it. But from this angle, it just makes it harder when you don't quite get to see the line of it.
Oh, he's close.
Brilliant. Oh, how's that not dropped? This is not what Karl Sutton wants to see, though. This is going to be very difficult for him to work this out. Okay, every time I say you miss your last ball, your opponent becomes favourite. But this is very difficult for Reds to work this out to win the frame quickly.
It's a percentage shot, but it's a gamble. It's a pretty good position to leave that white if you're Karl Sutton, but if Tony can get his protractor out and work this one out quick, here to the 8-ball, we're winning the frame.
Has to make a genuine effort to try and get close to this. You can't just roll this away because it would be loss of frame. So you have to make a genuine effort, and this certainly is.
Oh, it's not a bad go, really isn't.
Oh.
Not sure if that was even possible to thread the needle through there, but it's a really good effort from Tony.
But this is where I say it's really awkward for Karl and Reds here, is because you don't get a shot on a visit, you don't get 2 shots or anything like that. In international 8-ball rules, you just get cue ball in hand anywhere on the table. And it was going to be very difficult for him to try and open that frame up in any way where he could go for a clearance without risking losing the frame. So he's trying to tie the frame up. And what we're watching now is the referee checking to see whether a cue ball will go past the red. If it doesn't, it will be a re-rack.
No shot can be played. It's a stalemate. So I think we re-rack. Yeah, is that right? It's a re-rack.
What are your thoughts there, Simon, on that decision from Karl? Because for me, could he have been a little bit more aggressive? Because he had the choice there with cue ball in hand to possibly move that red. But it's tough to say, isn't it? Because if he'd have... Because obviously he only gets 1 shot, it's just cue ball in hand, no extra shots. So he has to be able to do something with that, or he turns the table over. Do you think that was a wise decision from Karl, just to essentially choose to rack him up again?
I don't think you could get that ball out. If you could have got that ball out and stayed on another ball at the bottom of the table, then maybe he could have gone for a finish. But he still had 2 near a cushion as well. But I don't think he could do that. I don't think he could get it out away from the 8-ball without risking potting the 8-ball. And if you can't get that ball out, then there's no point potting any of the others. So the only option he really had was to try and do what he did. Now, he may not wanted the full re-rack, but he wanted to really narrow the gap that Tony had to try and hit the black, so that eventually Tony, because he has to make a genuine effort, he eventually would get to the point where he could possibly hit the red and pop the black in whilst trying to do so. So a couple of different ways to win that frame in that situation, but it wasn't going to be a quick result doing it that way for Karl. So I think he'd probably be quite happy this is being re-racked.
Yeah, of course. I think that's probably a pretty wise summation, I'd say. And it's worth pointing out as well that the rule change in that scenario, especially with the use of cue ball in hand rather than a shot and a visit, for example, really changed the dynamic, because in so many instances that's actually quite an attacking rule change to go cue ball in hand. But in that particular instance, I think it made it really difficult for Karl to be offensive there.
Yeah, I think if you get 2 shots there, or you get a shot and a visit, then you use your free shot to open up the table, and you've still got the next control of the table. Whereas in international 8-ball rules, you don't. And that's, I think Karl's probably made the right decision because of the rules that we're playing.
And with it being a stalemate, it really does go to ground zero in that sense, and we lag off for the right to break next. Karl's won it. Karl will have the next break. Clock has been stopped during that process, by the way, so we haven't lost too much match time, which is important. And Tony will be disappointed because he came so close to winning that frame.
And it would have been a big statement, wouldn't it? 2-0 ahead, playing the favourite for the group, or at the start of the night, favourite for the group. Would have been a massive moment for Tony, but it wasn't to be. But he is still 1-0 ahead, and we are nearly halfway through this match. And finally, Karl Sutton makes a ball off the break. That's the first time he's managed it tonight.
Yeah, best break he's hit by a long way. No doubt about that. And if this first yellow drops, he is very much in business.
I think it's important for Karl Sutton here to make this finish. It's really not been a good performance or a good night for him so far. He's really struggled with the opportunities he's had. Hasn't managed to get going. He's looked rushed. But if he can make this finish here, a really good break, and take these out, then it would be go a long way to settling him down and reminding him that he's still very much in tonight. When he plays the yellow to the bottom right, he can just drop it in and play on the yellow to the left centre when he's going a different way. Same idea though, yellow to right centre now, top through to get onto the yellow down the bottom cushion, and then you just play onto the black into the same pocket or into the centre pocket. And that's nice, just gone through to the perfect angle, assuming the 8-ball goes to the same pocket. This is the exact angle you'd want to be on the yellow.
I think that's go the long way about winning this second frame. To force a re-rack, then had to win a lag, then had to make a ball. Eventually, Karl Sutton has broke and dished and squares things up at 1 apiece. Got there in the end.
I think that's the first time I've ever seen anyone break dish when they've broken dry. Very strange frame, but with that re-rack. But one thing's for sure, Karl's going to be sat in his chair, very happy and content with the fact that he's up and running in this match, and perhaps up and running for the night.
And we have seen it plenty of times already in this tournament, haven't we? Our players have just taken a game or so just to get their bearings almost with the environment, with the table, with the conditions, with the clock. So many different factors if you're not used to it in particular, which Karl isn't. So maybe just that first match, maybe quite a tough one to get out of the way, but now he's just starting to feel himself. His first clearance like that will give him a bit of confidence as well. Yeah,
and for me, the big one with those different things he needs to work out is the clock. I think that 20 seconds is something that's going to be very foreign to him. He's not played in a shootout event before. He's not going to be used to the pace, and 20 seconds really is, I think, for the pool world, it is very foreign to a lot of people. It is very difficult to play with 20 seconds, especially if you're used to longer, because you've seen a couple of times tonight, he's gone for a little wonder to have a look and then realised that you hear the beeps and 5 seconds are left, and he's rushed a shot and left it awkward.
Tony with the next break then in this match. 9 minutes left of it. Again, he's getting good splits, is Tony Blount, but he cannot buy a ball in from the break. And mentioned he's the rank outsider in this group already. You get the feeling if he is to win frames, matches, potentially the evening, he does need not necessarily a helping hand, but maybe a little bit of luck, and it's gone against him so far.
Yeah, he's hitting the break well enough to deserve to make balls. Like this, maybe not quite as well as some of the ones he's hit, but the break sort of deserted him after a really good contact with his breaks. This is not a great opportunity for Karl Sutton, especially with that last shot that he's just played. Two reds at the top of the table are awkward, but the two, or especially the one on the left-hand side, is a really awkward ball, and missing that pot, he won't be too worried about. He was trying to pot it, but yellows aren't a great option either. Tony's just nudging the red into a worse position, and that's going to make things very awkward for Karl Sutton. There's no reds nearby that cluster. Nothing he can do to easily open up that ball. There's only a couple of places he can even hit the red, and if he did have an open shot of the red, he'd be hitting it, he'd be opening up yellows, so very difficult to work out. How does Tony choose to be more aggressive here? I think he certainly has an opportunity to. If he goes up the table here, then he's probably thinking a bit more, taking the pocket and playing it safe. Yeah, he's just trying to take the pocket, slow things down. Hasn't managed to take the pocket on this occasion. For me, there was half an opportunity for Tony to be aggressive there. It was a fairly simple plant into the left centre pocket, and he could have left an angle on the yellow to the bottom left-hand corner to go into the yellow by the red. This is certainly not what Karl Sutton wants, because he really wants to get on with this match and get himself up 2 points on the board. Came into this as the group favourite. He only manages a draw in this match. He will be all but out of it.
Yeah, and this is the match that he'll have earmarked as the one that he has to win. No excuses. This is the one you can't afford to drop. And there's no disrespect to Tony, he'll absolutely know that's how the other players will be viewing this. We talked about earlier, it's a free hit for him, this event tonight. He can only come out of it with his reputation enhanced. It's difficult to lose it if you're Tony. That's a really good effort, that. So if that had dropped, that would have really made it interesting. It's still difficult, this, for Karl. I don't think that red passes the yellow down the left rail. If it does, that makes it a bit easier. Just having a look at that now.
That was a very aggressive shot choice from Tony, having not taken on the opportunity the previous chance he had when he could have gone about it a slightly different way. Maybe he always had that plant earmarked as his way of opening things up. I did think he would make it, actually.
Well, those yellows are now all out in the open. So Karl now has to produce something.
Don't think the red does pot, as you say, but he might be able to play cushion yellow and pot it. He can certainly try and take the pocket.
It's good safety from Karl. But yellows have the advantage here in the sense that they are eminently more clearable. If Tony can get the first opportunity, he's a big favourite. Can he sneak that in? Not quite. Not quite. Hands the table over to Karl, but Karl has a lot of work to do. The red to the right of the table below the centre pocket is awkward. The ball on the opposite side, equally so. This isn't a straightforward clearance. He's taking down the rail. This would open things up. Pot or bust. And he's potted. Still got one more to figure out, but it was a sign of intent, wasn't it, from Karl Sutton? He's been a bit reserved with his aggression, I'd say, in this match, but I think he's decided just got to go for it.
And once again, slightly caught out by the shot clock.
I think slightly generous.
Yeah, definitely caught out by the shot clock, and okay, he probably always thought he was going to play that back double the way he did, or cushion first double. He has handed the table over to Tony with a great opportunity, and that has come out perfectly.
And there is not a lot of time left in this match for Tony Blount. If he wins this, to get in front with a lead to hold for a win potentially.
That's not ideal. He's just come back too far. He's going to be potting the top yellow thin, and he'll do well to hold the cue ball on the next yellow. Oh, he's played it off the yellow. Clever, but
all these next two shots aren't easy.
Yeah, it's not come out well. And that was all about that previous positional shot. Just didn't play it where he needed to. Left himself thinner than he wanted.
Karl Sutton is now interested. And he just jaws it.
What makes it worse is, look where it's gone. If that jaws and hits both jaws and sits over the middle pocket, it puts pressure on Karl Sutton's finish. Now it's rolled above that centre pocket the way it has. It's almost just freed it up a little bit for Karl, and if he was feeling nervy out there, it should help.
Oh, it's been a strange old match, this one, it really has. It is toed and froed. Karl Sutton here would do well. He's struggled with the shot clock, but right now he wants to use every second of it.
Just waiting for the beeps.
He doesn't want to give Tony a chance. Karl does have the next break, I believe, as well, which makes it even more difficult for Tony to come back in no time at all. If Tony had the break, he'd have the chance of having a golden break, which is potting the 8 ball off the break. It's an automatic win of the frame. Pot the 8 in the white, you will lose it, however. And Karl Sutton is using every second. Nicely played. He gets over the line in the end, but Tony Blount gave him a real fright in that frame.
Sorry, yeah, you are. I'll have to concede.
If it had been the other
I couldn't tell you
way around, he'd have had a real good chance here, Tony Blount.
I don't know if you are when he's at the table, though, to be fair.
As it is, Karl goes 2-1 in front with the break to come. And he's almost got his first 2 points on the board. Just didn't quite catch exactly what Tony was chatting about with our ref Viv there.
I think he was just questioning the skill shot, just whether he could play a skill shot on the 8 ball, and the answer is he can. As long as he's on the 8 ball, he can't play his last ball on the 8 ball, but he can play the 8 ball on one of his opponent's balls if he'd got that far. But one thing's for sure, Tony's going to be really annoyed with himself, because that was such an opportunity. He should be sat in his chair now with just over a minute on the clock, 2-1 ahead, and in fact he's 2-1 behind, and what an opportunity it was for him to get the win.
Yeah, it was a real scare for Karl Sutton. Got over the line well, and did well, to be fair. It would have been easy to have been a little bit rattled in that situation, I think, but he was very calm and composed. Used the clock to his advantage, having
number 4.
been very much a victim of it.
You broke first, didn't you? Yeah. Karl
with the break.
Time running.
Again, he would do well to use the whole 20 seconds, but just decides to go for it, and well, that's the best break he's hit by a mile. I don't think there's going to be too much doubt about who's winning this match now. Just needs a couple of pots, but he has hammered those. A lot of power. Didn't even hit it perfectly as well. You see the jump in the white ball, but power he put into the cue ball just meant he was guaranteed something.
Yeah, he probably didn't hit that one as powerfully as some of the ones that have gone wrong. It just shows that if you time it right,
red ball's in play.
You get a good split anyway, and he would have liked to have landed a little bit better. He would have, if he could have been on the next red, he could have just made sure of it, but I suppose if he still plays this down, then I don't see how Tony clears up 6 or 7 yellows with 20 seconds on the clock.
Well, let's see what he's got. This would be miracle-like.
Throws the cue at the chalk on the floor as well.
Might be a bit of a shootout practice, this. But you can see there, it's a great effort from Tony, to be fair to him. He's still swinging, but not quite to be. He will have to take his medicine.
Conceded, Karl Sutton.
And 2-1 is the eventual win for Karl Sutton. A smile on his face in the end, but he really, really had to graft there. That was not easy, but he gets over the line against Tony Blount to get his first win of the night and get him up towards the top of that table. You can see there in the stats, absolutely nothing between them, Simon.
No, absolutely. It really was a very even match, and I think Karl Sutton's going to be very relieved that he's still in this competition tonight. Of course, that result is going to knock Tony out of it, but you feel like he should have walked away with the points the way that last frame went. But Karl Sutton is still fighting in this competition.
He certainly is. We've got a great match for you next up as well. We've just seen the two losers of the first matches compete. It's now time to see the two winners. It's Craig Lakin versus Dave McNamara when we come back.
This programme is brought to you by Vinny.co.uk.